Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to America once again, and we're going to have a look at a beer from another brewery that I've never tried anything from before, which is always exciting. But it also turns out that this is my first beer from this state as well, which I find very odd considering I've been to this state 4 times. I've got some very good friends there who I always go and visit, and you know, I've reviewed beers from all the surrounding states as well, if memory serves me correctly. So definitely nice to pop this cherry after 2,500 reviews. So for this one then, we are going to go to the American East Coast. We're going to go to the state of New Jersey, Essex County in the north, and the city of Fairfield to be specific. And we're going to have a look at my first beer from Magnify Brewing Company. So this one is called Master of Clouds. It comes in 8% ABV, and this one is a New England Hazy, whatever you want to call it, double IPA. So yeah, really curious to see how this beer turns out. As I say, my very first beer review from New Jersey, and from what I gather, these guys do some really interesting stuff actually. They've got a lot of plaudits over the last few years, and I know that the New Jersey beer scene has been thriving quite a bit over the last little while, mainly thanks to my friend Dave over there, who I often go to visit. He lives in Mountainside, or I forget if it's Mountainside or Westfield. The border's quite close to where he lives. But yeah, these guys should be pretty interesting to try as my first New Jersey craft beer. So yeah, hopefully this turns out to be an interesting review, and you will probably see more New Jersey beers reviewed on the channel at some point next summer, because I will be heading out to the States in June and July of summer 2021, COVID permitting. But yeah, this is another beer that I picked up at Kiosk over in Copenhagen, one of my favourite beer shops that I always love to visit when I take the train over from Skåne into the city. I always come back with some Danish stuff and some random American things, and this is one of the 5 beers that I picked up on my last trip there. And it was, you know, they had a couple of different beers from this brewery, and as I always tell you, when it comes to American breweries that I don't know, it tends to be the case that if there's a choice of a couple of beers, I'll pick the one that either has the nicest artwork or the coolest name. And I liked the name of this one because it sounded quite sort of symphonic, power metal kind of thing, a little bit Dream Theater almost. It really sounded a little bit like that, and I liked the artwork on it as well. So here we are reviewing this one as my very first New Jersey beer. So yeah, definitely cool to have this one for you here on the channel, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. And do let me know some other New Jersey breweries that you guys would recommend for me in the comment section below. 2 shout outs to make in this video then before we get started. The first is to my good friend Matthew Dapkins, who runs the Massive Beers channel. He's got a great channel over there. You will see him feature on my channel again at some point next summer. He's often on my live streams actually. He comes and joins in and drinks a beer with us, which is always nice. But yeah, he's been going, I think maybe a little bit longer than I have, come to think of it, but he's got a great channel over there, and you'll probably see him review a good number of beers from Magnify because they are fairly local to him, although I do think he lives in the south at some point. But yeah, next summer I will go to visit him on his beautiful farm that he has. We'll film a Meet the Blogger segment. We'll go and visit some breweries probably and film a good couple of reviews together. So it's going to be nice to finally meet him in person at some stage, and his little kid will have just been born at that point as well, so it'll be nice and interesting to meet his wife and to meet his little baby as well. So looking forward to that. Second shout out, of course, is to my good friend Paul Romeli, who is in Pennsylvania but still fairly close to New Jersey if I remember rightly. I think he's just a little bit west of Philadelphia. But yeah, he was one of the first American beer tubers that I came across. He's just an absolute madman, and that's why we love him. Loves his black metal. He's a very talented painter, and his classic kind of trademark is to film his beer reviews in his basement dungeon thing that he's got. So again, we'll do a Meet the Blogger thing with him. It'll be nice to see him again after having met him in Manchester back in like 2017, I think it was 2018 actually. I met Paul in Manchester with the English guys, which was great fun. But we'll go and visit some of these local breweries, we'll do some reviews together, and yeah, it'll be awesome to have him on the channel as well. So very much looking forward to that actually. So yeah, do check out the links both to PA Brew News and Massive Beers in the video description below. 2 great channels, and 2 of the kind of classic American beer tubing channels, if you like. So yeah, always nice to give these guys a shout out, and like I say, you'll see them on the channel in the summer of 2021, so you can look forward to that. But yeah, let's get on and actually get on with the review part of this video then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that hopefully I can do it for Magnify Brewing Company. This is the very first time I'm trying one of their beers, as I mentioned. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the American beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to fairly regularly these days because we are getting a very good selection of different American beers compared to what we used to before. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Magnify Brewing Company then, on to my brewery notes. So as I've mentioned to you already, Magnify Brewing are based in Fairfield in Essex County, which is in the northern part of New Jersey, a little bit to the northwest of Newark, which is right across the water from New York and Manhattan, whatever you want to say. But this brewery was founded back in 2014 by Eric Ruta. So Eric is originally from Ridgewood in New Jersey, but he studied environmental science and philosophy at Bates College in Lewiston in Maine, which is a bit to the north of Portland, which, as we know these days, is a very good beer town. Bissell Brothers, Allagash and various others based there. But apparently it was the Portland beer scene that really inspired him to get into brewing and start up his own company. But apparently he worked in a low-level marketing job at Baxter Brewing in Lewiston, which was a very small but well-respected local brewery. But he did this to get some insight into the business, and he said that he really just he grew to love the community that you had both in Lewiston and in Portland between the restaurateurs, the chefs and all the brewers and things like that. He just really loved this kind of sense of community that the craft beer scene actually had, and that really got him wanting to start his own company. But when he decided to go for it and start up officially, he recruited Erich Karle, who had previously worked at Almanac and Speakeasy, and together they drew up their business plan to start the brewery. And they wanted to create a whole kind of variety of unique beers using a lot of different yeasts and different hops and things like that. They wanted to create their own house yeasts, from what I understand. But they opened up the brewery officially in May of 2015, and it can be found in the Junction Business Park in Fairfield. And the main reason they chose there was because Essex County wasn't really well known as a beer location, and Eric says that he wanted to magnify his local area's profile for beer. He wanted to highlight the kind of North Jersey area as a beer destination, so that was why he chose the name Magnify. But in the first year, these guys produced around 1,300 barrels, but the beer was so well received that they very quickly had to expand. So they rented a second premises of about 2,000 square feet simply for storage for all the cans and bottles and things like this, and this allowed them to expand the fermentation capacity in the brewery that they already had. They started off with 2 big fodders as well, from what I understand, as well as kind of regular tanks. So interesting brewery from that perspective as well. But yeah, they expanded the fermentation capacity, like I said, and they also converted from bottling to canning in 2016 as well. Over the last few years, they've been progressively brewing more different beers and expanding the brewing capacity further. And as of early November 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 450 different kinds of beer, according to Untappd. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about these guys. As I said, they've become a very well respected New Jersey brewer, and from what I gather, their IPAs are pretty special actually, so that's pretty cool that we've got one of these to review for you here on the channel. But that's all I can really tell you about Magnify Brewing Company for the moment. Hopefully, if this is a good beer, we can make it up to Fairfield and have a little look at the tasting room and things in this brewery. Maybe I can convince my friend Dave to drive us up there, and we can do a few tastings and stuff and a little bit of out and about filming. Maybe we can even get these guys on a Meet the Brewery segment, because they have been so well received. That would be a really cool thing to film, a Meet the Brewery segment in New Jersey actually, so maybe we can make that happen. I'll maybe need to write to these guys next year and see if we can do that. But yeah, as I say, that's all I can really tell you about them just now. If you want to learn more, check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on at the brewery, and of course you can follow them, have a look at all the different beers through Untappd, Rate Beer and Beer Advocate. You can follow them on there as well. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So yeah, as I said to you, I picked this one because I liked the artwork and it sounded pretty kind of Dream Theater, like proggy, symphonic, power metal, I guess we could say, whatever. I just really like the name of this one, Master of the Clouds. My scientific background also made me think a little bit of meteorology, you know. But yeah, really nicely presented beer, this one. As I said to you, this one is an 8% New England double IPA. It's hopped apparently, or dry hopped, with Idaho 7, Citra and Lemon Drop. We know all of these hops from before. These hops have been mentioned on the channel before. Idaho 7 we know gives you that lovely soft, very soft, juicy, tropical fruity sort of thing. Citra is one of the original high alpha acid hops, 13-14% alpha acid, as is Idaho 7. It gives you mangoes and lots of different little fruity complexities in there, sometimes lemon lime, sometimes gooseberries and lychees and stuff like this. And there's also Lemon Drop in there as well, which you don't see all that often. It's a lower alpha acid hop, about maybe between 6 and 7% alpha acid, but I think it's made by Hopsteiner, if I remember rightly. So yeah, it is fairly popular over in the States from what I gather, but we don't get it very much over here in Europe. The other interesting thing to point out about this beer is that this one was brewed in collaboration with Heidi Geist for the 48 Beer Project. So basically what she's doing is that she's going across the 48 contiguous US states, which is basically mainland United States, you know, chop off Alaska and Hawaii, and you have the 48 contiguous American states. So she's going to try and do a collaboration with a brewery from each state and design a label for them and produce the beer. So pretty interesting project actually. So yeah, kudos to Heidi Geist for this, and I have to say her artwork is pretty cool actually. It's quite graffiti-like in style almost, I would say. But yeah, but as you can see with this one, the artwork is beautiful, and there you can see the Magnify Brewing Company symbol there, and you can see on the back, this is the little bit about the project, the 48 Beer Project thing, and you can see this is number 7 in the series, and you can see the outline of New Jersey. I'm not sure if that would normally be on the label there, but I think that would be a nice touch. I think it would be quite cool for a lot of the American breweries if they did put like their state flag and the state outline or something like that on the beers. I wish more breweries in Europe would do that with the countries as well. I think it's always cool to know exactly where your beer comes from, because it is a very local product, of course. But yeah, this beer is in a 473ml can, 1 American pint. As I always complain about, the American measurement system makes no sense because of all the cups and quarts and all these kind of things. We always have to make fun of the American measurement system on the channel because it is, you know, it just, as I say, it doesn't make any sense. But you know, you do get 33 millilitres more beer in the American can, so we can't knock it too much. I did have a comment that was saying that the Americans measure liquids in freedom units, which I thought was quite funny. That was, and that was actually an American that made it as well, so that I did find that quite funny. But yeah, 16 fluid ounces, 1 American pint, 473 millilitres. So yeah, this one should be quite interesting. Does that mean that 1 fluid ounce is like, what, it's about 14 divided by 15, it's about 31 it's less than 31 millilitres. 1 fluid ounce is like 31 millilitres, something like that. Yeah, makes sense. Quick maths there. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting in it. 8% New England Hazy double IPA with Idaho 7, Citra and Lemon Drop added into the brew. This one should be pretty nice. So yeah, let's see how we go with this one. It is great actually. We're getting a lot of American breweries, a lot of different American breweries, and we're getting their beers over here in Europe. Pretty damn fresh actually. So the import scene over here in Europe has improved a hell of a lot, and for us, as I say, it is a novelty to try things from different states in America. It was always Colorado and Chicago back in the day, with a few things like Founders and stuff from Michigan, but these days we're getting beers from lots of different states all over the place. I've got a couple of Ohio beers in the or I think 1 Ohio beer out in the fridge out there that you're going to see reviewed quite soon, and that'll be my very first one from Ohio, if I remember rightly as well. So yeah, we're getting close maybe to covering all 50 of the different states. That would be quite awesome if we could do that. But yeah, as you can see with this beer, and as you would expect when it's a New England double IPA, this one has poured a lovely, rich kind of mango juice colour. We always compare the New England hazies to different fruit juices. Every beer reviewer has their own point of reference, of course, but for me, this one really looks like a big kind of juicy mango juice sort of thing. But yeah, you can see the beer poured with a little bit over a half finger of a frothy, I would say kind of cream coloured head. That's not a perfect white head in my opinion. That is going to fade away to just be a kind of thin foamy layer. There's 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass on this one, and you've got a few little bubbles just going up towards the bottom of the head. I've got a tiny little fruit fly just going around the place. It's so annoying. But yeah, certainly looks the part for a New England IPA. If we shine the light through it, it does actually, it has a good little bit of haze to it, but it's certainly not the soupiest and gloopiest of New England hazy double IPAs that I've come across in all the reviews we've done here on the channel. But it certainly looks very nice, and I got a little whiff of the aroma and it smelled very nice. So let's have a closer look at that before we actually taste the thing. So yeah. Ooh, that does smell really nice actually. It said on the can, by the way, that this beer has lactose in it, and my first thing would have been that this beer just smells very, very smooth and very oaty. But it smells like a lovely, lovely beer. This one, it's got a lovely malt base to it. If you've watched the channel before, you'll know that being Scottish, and of course living in Scandinavia, I do love a good kind of prominent malt base in a beer. So for me, straight away with this beer, the thing that comes out of it is a lovely, soft, fresh white bread character. That's what I really get out of this one. You can smell a little bit of that lactosey character in there, but you've got a lovely creamy oaty vibe to this beer as well, which I think is just it's just lovely. If you take the aroma in a little bit more deeply, you do get a little bit of the bitiness from the wheat in this one. You do get a little bit of that in there. You can really smell that bitiness towards the back, but mainly the backbone of this beer is a lovely sort of soft white bready note in there, and you do get a little bit of the lactose. You can smell a little bit of that almost milkshake, very slightly milkshakey, candy sort of lactosey sort of thing. But then you also get the nice smooth oats coming out of the beer. The malt base in this one, I think, comes across as beautifully done. So I really, really like the malty side in this one. It's quite simple, it's quite straightforward, but you know, these beers, they don't need to be overly complex. They just need to be you know, solid and drinkable in my mind. And quite often, this is one of the strange things for me about American beers, is they're often very, very drinkable, even if they're like, you know, 8% doubles and 11% triple IPAs and things like that. I've always found the American beers are very, very drinkable. Yeah, the aroma on the malty side of this beer is very nice. You might get a few little elements of biscuit or a little bit of a kind of Werther's Original type butter candy thing out of this. I wouldn't say it's diacetyl. I've always found this, I've been finding this in recent times, that a lot of breweries are adding a little bit of sweetening malt into the beers, like caramel or Cara Munich or Cara Pils or something like this. But yeah, the malt base of this one smells really nice and smooth, and it's just got a little bit of a kind of very slightly honey, very slightly kind of butter candy, Werther's Original type thing in the aroma as well, but mainly a big soft bready thing. On the hoppy side of things then, let's look at that. There is a tiny little bit of earthiness to this one, but the green side of the hops for me really lean towards that nice big floral aromatic quality. You've got some nice bright grassiness in there with this one, but yeah, it's got a lovely big kind of floral aromatic note out of it. I'm not sure exactly what would have been used as the bittering hop in this one, but remember, when it comes to these hops, the thing that affects the bitterness and stuff like that in the green side of the hops is when exactly during the boil you add the hops. If you add them earlier on, you get more bitterness out of them, but if you add them later on, usually within the last half hour of the boil, these of course IPAs usually have about 90 minutes. Can have a little bit longer, but yeah, usually if you add the hops within the last half hour, that's when you're getting flavour and aroma. But yeah, this one's got a really nice balance in it between the sweet malty side of things and the smooth maltiness, I should say, and the kind of big floral aromaticity. I wouldn't call it spicy, this one. It is more of a kind of floral aromatic sort of thing. You've got a lovely lighter grassiness to the beer as well. So yeah, I like how this goes together. In terms of the in terms of the fruity side of this beer then, it is kind of what you would expect if you know these hops. I think the Idaho 7 comes out of this one really quite prominently. I'm not sure if it's a 33-33-33 blend that they've got with these three hops, but to me it's the Idaho 7 and the big soft tropical fruits that come out of this one right away. So yeah, for me, you do get a little bit of that kind of pungenty passion fruit in the nose there, and that'll be both the Citra and the Idaho 7 that's contributing to that. So you do get a little bit of that more pungent fruit, but you've got a lovely soft, you do get a little bit of a lovely soft juicy mango to the beer. You've got a lot of kind of apricot-y notes in there, a little bit of a kind of sultana type quality as well, and a few kind of perry esters in there. You've got a lot of lovely kind of stone fruity notes in this one, papayas, apricots, all of that in there. But yeah, one or two little sultana and perry kind of esters coming out of the beer as well. But you do have a good little bit of a big citrusy kind of zesty note to this beer as well. You've got a little bit of that kind of big lemony oily sort of thing. So yeah, for me, the aroma profile out of this beer, I think is really quite nice. I love the contribution of the lemon drop here, and it always amazes me, you know, as I said earlier, lemon drop's about a 6 or 7% alpha acid, but you can really smell the contribution of that hop into this beer. You also get a little bit of a kind of slightly gooseberry lychee sort of thing out of it, which will be one of the complexities that you've got from Citra. But yeah, it's a lovely, lovely smelling beer, this one. So big thumbs up to a big thumbs up in this review or a big thumbs up to them for yeah, for the quality of the aroma in this. I think this is a very, very nice smelling beer actually. So yeah, take a little bit of time and enjoy that. Lovely big citrusy notes, but then you've got those soft tropical fruity notes in behind it. So take a little bit of time to enjoy that before you get stuck in. But now we're going to have a taste of this beer. This one is the Master of Clouds, a New England Hazy Double IPA coming in at 8% ABV. From oh, brain's not working, from Magnify Brewing Company in Fairfield in Essex County in the north of New Jersey. Let's get stuck into this one, my very first taste of a New Jersey beer. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Yeah, that is very, very nice. This beer, as I say, is a couple of weeks old, but it's still in very, very good condition. If it's in this good condition when it's probably about a month or so old, then I think I would love to see what this tastes like fresh. It's in very, very good condition, like I say. Yeah, this is really damn solid actually, and again, this is just a very drinkable double IPA. These American ones, I always find them very, very drinkable, but this is very nice actually. Very, very smooth and easy drinking. Yeah, this one I think has got an interesting malty base to it as well. It comes across as a little bit more complex in the malty side of the beer in comparison, and you can see now that we've poured the rest of the beer, and you can see this one, it's distinctly more hazy, so there must have been a little bit of sediment just kind of floating around near the bottom of the can. But yeah, it's a lovely looking beer, as I said. So let's kind of break down the flavour of this one then and just see how we get on. So yeah, straight away with this beer, you get that lovely soft white bready note, and that blankets the middle of your tongue. I want to say that I do wonder if there's a wee touch of rye in this beer, because you do get a little bit of graininess, I think, towards the back of the palate. Actually, I do want to say there is a wee bit of rye in this one actually, which comes across really nicely. Yeah, after doing my first mystery beer, I learned a lot about the kind of flavours of rye actually, because I've always usually associated those kind of rye flavours with yeast in recent times, but I do wonder, it's kind of the rye, I think I'm a lot more kind of aware of a rye presence now, having done that mystery beer. But yeah, the malty base in this is very, very nice, like I said. So yeah, as I said with this beer, in the middle third of your palate you've got that lovely softer white bready note in there, and as you move towards the back of the palate, towards the back third of the tongue, I think you get more of a kind of rye graininess in there, and then as you reach the very back of the palate, you get a little bit more of the bitiness from the wheat actually. So the very back of that back third of your palate, there's that nice kind of bitiness from the wheat, a little bit more of a kind of grainy rye note in front of that, and then a soft white bready character in the middle third of your palate. You can feel the kind of white bread, it does kind of sit on top a little bit of the wheat and the almost like the rye characters that I was talking about, so you can feel the back third of your palate, the breadiness is just a little bit thicker, and as you come further forward on the tongue it smoothens out a little bit, and as you go into the middle third of your palate you can feel the thickness of that bread just drops down a little bit, and then on top of that soft white bready sort of thing you've got a nice smooth oaty creaminess coming out of the beer, which I think is really nice. The way that the oats go together in this one with the soft bready thing is really nice, and you can feel the lactose in this beer just sort of smoothing out the oats and kind of thickening them up a little bit. So I really like that about this beer, I have to say. So yeah, I really like how this one goes together. It's the malty side of this beer I think is very nice. So yes, in the middle third of your palate, soft white bread, nice oaty kind of creaminess on top of that, and then the lactose just kind of thickens out that oaty character. If you go to the dead centre of your palate, you might get a little bit, you can pick up a little bit of the booziness in this beer, and that might just be because it's not at its prime freshness, but it's not a big deal. But yeah, in the middle of your palate, you do get a little bit. I think there's a wee bit of a butter candy sort of thing coming out of this one. There is just a wee bit of that McVitie's digestive sort of thing as well. A little bit of that Werther's original thing in the very centre, and as you move out from that, you do get a few kind of biscuity McVitie's digestive sort of things coming out of this one. So yeah, it's really interesting how that goes together. Actually, I really like it. Yeah. Yeah, lovely beer in terms of its malty side of things. As I say, you'll know that I'm a sucker for malt bases if you've watched the channel before. But yeah, let's focus on the hoppy side of things then. The malt base, really nice, quite a bite. It's actually, the more and more that I drink of this, the more it becomes a bit more grainy and bitey. It's a little bit more like the Trilliums rather than the tree houses in my mind. This beer does get a little bit more wheaty and bitey the further you go into the aftertaste. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, there's a definite little bit of earthiness there for me. As you move further forward along the sides of the palate, you do get quite a nice big floral aromaticity out of this one. It's quite a bit more spicy than the Aroma would have you believe, so I am wondering if there is a wee bit of Columbus in this one. I'm wondering about that. It does have a nice little bit of Columbus in there, but as you go round the front curve of the palate, the beer is just a little bit lighter and more grassy in my mind. So I really like how that side of the beer goes together as well. The nice kind of spiciness that it has from what I suspect is Columbus. It could be Tomahawk or Zeus as well, but I do suspect that it's Columbus in this one. Classic bittering hop, of course. That does give the beer a good little bit of balance there and a good bit of connectivity. But on the front third of your tongue, that's where you get all those nice juicy fruity esters just rolling their way out of the beer, and I really like how that goes together. And yeah, fruity side of this beer, it's got a lovely juicy character to it. As I've told you in previous reviews, when you put these hops into West Coast IPAs, they come out a little bit more oily, and when you put them into the New England ones like this, the hazy ones, you do get a lovely juiciness out of them. But this beer, it actually does have a wee bit more of an oily fruity character, which is nice. So let's break that down as well. On the front third of your palate, if you go towards the very back, you get a strong passion fruity note out of this beer. You do get that nice pungent passion fruit, but as you move further forward, you can feel the nice kind of mango notes from the citra coming out there, and as you move kind of towards the middle of that front third of your tongue, that's where you get the kind of papayas, the apricots and things like that in there. That's Idaho 7 again, and it will be citra. Idaho 7 and citra are going to give you a hell of a lot of tropical fruit complexity, and as you go further into the aftertaste, you will get a few sort of perry and sultana like esters off this one, which is great. But then when you reach the kind of front third of your tongue, the front ninth of your tongue if we're going to go for it, you do get a bit more of a kind of oily, lemony kind of citrus thing out of that, and that's the lemon drop. The lemon drop's got a really, really lovely distinctive citrusy character to it, and you can pick it out right away in this one, and it actually makes the very front curve of your tongue and the grassy flavours in there feel very, very zesty actually. So I really, really like how that side of the beer comes together. The big zestiness that the beer has, the spicy floral aromaticity, and the kind of more bitey, wheaty, and almost slightly, I think what must be a bit of rye. I think there's a bit of rye greeniness to this one. All of that just connects together to give you a really nice bitey New England double IPA in my mind. You can, as I say, get ones that are a little bit more farmhousey. You'll get the more kind of creamy ones. Farmhousey usually is like Alchemist. The creamy ones are a little bit more like Treehouse. This one to me is a little bit more like a kind of Trillium sort of thing, a really kind of nice bitey, wheaty, floral aromatic New England IPA. So yeah, I really like this one, and I like how it goes together. So this has made me very curious about the other beers that these guys have done. So I'll need to look into that and see about going to visit these guys when I make it to the States next year. But yeah, beautiful. New England double, this one. Definitely curious to try more from these guys at some stage. But in terms of the mouthfeel then, to round off the review, I'd say this beer's top end to mid-bodied. As I've told you in other reviews, I don't find quite often I don't find the American beers quite as thick as some of the ones that we have over here in Scandinavia, but I think Scandinavia is difficult to beat in terms of its big thick mouthfeel. But yeah, so this one for me is top end and mid-bodied. The carbonation is really quite smooth in this one. The beer, it does have an element of creaminess to it, but it's got a little bit of that smoothness, which I think is really nice. Yeah, the overall kind of vibe of the beer is quite bitey and quite, you know, zesty and citrusy and things, which I really like. In terms of hoppy bitterness, what are we going to say about this one? I think this one's got to be about 40 or 50 IBUs. I think it's got a little bit more bitterness in it. When it's a double IPA rather than a regular IPA, that would make sense. Usually it's about 30 IBUs that you would get in these New England IPAs. But yeah, as you go up the alcohol scales, you go to double, usually you add 10 IBUs. If you go to triple, you take it up to 50 IBUs, you add on another 10. But yeah, I think about 40-ish IBUs with this, maybe 50 a push. Maltiness, like I say, lovely and smooth, a little bit of bitiness on the back third, you're patting a little touch of sweetness and booziness as well. Big floral aromatic notes to the beer, and you've also got a nice juicy fruitiness, but it does have quite a zesty and slightly oily character to it as well. So yeah, I really like how this one goes together, and it gets a big thumbs up from me. So yeah, Master of the Clouds, I think, yeah, Master of the Haze would be a good name for this one. I think this is a very nice beer. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. So yeah, this was the Master of the Clouds, an 8% New England Hazy Double IPA from Magnify Brewing Company in Fairfield in Essex County in the north of the state. Really cool to have this one as my first New Jersey beer review, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Probably a little bit of a longer review this one, but the beer I think turned out really nicely. The lemon drop really sticks out for me on this one, and that's a nice sort of change of pace. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. Once again, thank you for watching my reviews. I hope that you guys enjoyed this one. Like I say, check out my social media, check out my good friend Matt over at Massive Beers and Paul at PA Brew News. They've both got really nice channels as well, and they'll review these kind of beers a little bit more regularly than I will. But thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you guys very soon. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Magnify Brewing Company, and do give me some other New Jersey brewery recommendations, and we'll see about getting some of those beers reviewed for you in summer 2021. Slàinte, skål, cheers, and thanks for watching.